if you would, when we call your project, if you'll give us just a second, because the staff will give us a review of your project, and then we'll ask you to come up and, answer any questions and add anything you'd like to the summary that's already occurred. And if you would, just introduce yourself, give us your name, and give us your address. That way we'll have that on the record. So thank you very much. Roll call.
Mr. Boyd? Mr. Owens?
Here.
Mrs. Hartshorn?
Here.
Mrs. White? And Mr. Geisler?
Here. Okay, and the next item is the approval of minutes, but we don't have a necessary quorum for the approval of the minutes, so we'll skip that to next time because Christie was not here for that meeting. Okay, the first certificate of appropriateness is the Aberdeen United Methodist Church, and we have Pastor Quinn Patterson here. So if we could have a staff summary.
Gabriel Christofari, town of Abington. So yes, the applicant, Glenn Patterson, associate pastor for Abington United Methodist Church, has requested approval of a certificate of appropriateness for various exterior changes, including gutter replacement, repair of roof membrane, and ceiling brick walls. The property is located at 101 East Main Street. The property is within the Old and Historic District, Sub-District 5, is in the entrance corridor, and can be seen from the public right-of-way, therefore requiring the approval of the HBRB. Some staff findings. The subject property contains approximately .566 acres. Some background on it. In 1883, trustees of the Methodist Episcopal Church South bought lots 7 and 8 from Henry Sinon. Construction of the church began in 1883. A 2-story frame parsonage was built on the east side of the church by 1890. But was torn down in 1954. A brick annex was added behind the sanctuary in 1914, and in 1952 a new brick educational wing was constructed, taking the place of 2 existing structures at the time. Access to the site will continue to be East Main Street, Church Street, or Plum Alley, and all the adjacent properties are zoned OH. So this is kind of another project where I broke it down, so if you have any questions, just feel free to jump right in. So first section. The applicant is proposing to replace the existing K-style guttering found on the west and east sides of the structure with 7-inch K-style guttering. All existing rectangular downspouts, 8 in total, connected to the structure, are proposed to be removed and are replaced with 8 new 3x4 downspouts. All gutters and downspouts will be pre-finished white to match existing. Upon visiting the site and conducting property research, staff found this property has gone through numerous building campaigns and a history of Abington United Methodist Church, 1783 to 1985, written by Walter H. Hendricks. There is a historic photo showing the church during the 1894 Holston Conference, which you can see below in your packet there. The utilization of K-style gutters did not come into use until the mid-1900s. The structure was built in 1883. K-style guttering, while existing, is not what would have been on the original structure. However, it is hard to discern, based on the historic photograph, what type of guttering the 1883 church had at that time. Most likely, given the date of construction, they were half-round with round downspouts, though. If there's any questions or concerns, I can move on. Moving on to the next section for staff findings, there's a photo here. I just kind of broke it down for you. The church is the 1883. The back brick annex is the 1914, and then to the east is the 1952 educational wing that you see highlighted in the yellow box. And as you can see through your packet as well, I have you a picture of the 1883 bricks, the 1914 bricks, and the 1952 bricks, with what type of mortar was used for each one of those. So for the second part here, the applicant is proposing to power wash and seal the north, east, and south elevations of the 1952 brick addition. The sealant being used is called Sealapore, a solvent-based saline and siloxane solution designed to damp-proof above-grade masonry surfaces. Sealapore is a transparent, colorless, thin liquid. It bars water from exterior masonry above grade. surfaces without changing the texture of the surface on which it is applied. Seal of pour penetrates masonry surfaces to keep water, dirt, and grime out of masonry pores. It protects mortar joints, thereby minimizing damage caused by expansion and contraction, or freeze/thaw. Upon visiting the site a few days after the 1952 brick faces had been power washed and sealant applied, staff observed there was very little, if any, change in appearance when comparing the washed and sealed brick face to one that has not been treated. The only noticeable difference was the area not power washed and sealed had black staining, as you can see in the picture I have provided to you. No power washing or sealing will be applied to either the 1883 or 1914 structures. These structures had more historic bricks with lime-based mortars. Power washing should never be done on these types of bricks, given their age, porosity, and softness when compared to modern bricks as seen used in the construction of the 1952 structure. On the low-sloped roof of the 1956 brick addition, the modern roofing membrane had holes in the material allowing water to leak into the building. The modern roofing membrane cannot be seen from the public right-of-way vantage point. If there's any concerns or questions you would like me to address, I can address them. If not, I can step aside.
Thank you. Hello, welcome.
Thank you. It's good to be here. All right.
Is there anything you'd like to add to the presentation that's already been made?
Well, everything that we're doing here is arriving out of necessity rather than choice. We are experiencing some substantial water intrusion on all of the areas that we're choosing to address. We're very pleased with the possibility of this. On the opposite side of the wall that's on the display is our fellowship hall. We have noticed that we've had an intermittent leak in that room for over 2 years, and we've had several experts look at it. Nobody's been able to offer us an explanation until Baker. Their theory is that what we're experiencing is actually water intrusion through the brick. They found the brick on the upper portion where the power washing has taken place to about perhaps 6 inches above the windows to be significantly more porous than the brick lower down the wall. So it's their conclusion that the brick's actually drawing the water through the wall when we have several rains in a row, and that's why we're taking this step. As far as the other two pieces are of concern, we do have an active leak in the part of the roof that's not visible from the street. The gutters that are to be repaired, which are not visible from the street, apparently were improperly hung initially. And it was Baker's Roof's conclusion that they didn't need to be repaired, but they would need to be taken down and reattached properly. As far as the other gutters are concerned, the ones that are scheduled for replacement, they're leaking substantially. And they appear to be inadequate to hold the amount of water that's hitting them off of coming down that roof.
For clarification for me, the new guttering, is it on the 1883 structure?
Yes, it is.
And the ones that are going to be repaired and put back up is not on that structure?
They're on the 1883 structure and on the 1952 structure, but they're on an interior courtyard, which is not visible.
So, one issue is that our guidelines require half-round guttering instead of the K style that's on there now. And the reason for that is that as you may have heard during the summary, that style of guttering wasn't even manufactured until the 1950s. And there is, some of it on historic buildings in the town, but we're really trying to encourage and get the original type guttering, the original look back on the historic structures. So, our guidelines require the half-round guttering unless the K-style guttering is appropriate to the building based on its age, or maybe some other factor which would not apply here. So would there be a problem with putting the half-round guttering instead of the?
Frankly, that's not something that we've considered. I don't think that the contractor that Baker Roofing works with works in half-round guttering, at least to the best of my knowledge. I don't know what, I'm not familiar with the half-round guttering's capacity to divert water.
Well, it comes in different sizes
Okay.
also, and you can get the, I believe, because.
Industrial strength.
Yeah. Do you know?
No, but I know
Yeah.
at least 6 inch.
I had the K-style on my house, and when I went with the half-round, they indicated it would have a better capacity for carrying water than, but I had a smaller K-style, the
Okay.
smaller guttering.
All right,
But it does work better than what I had before.
okay.
But I don't know what sizes it comes in.
I mean, I did notice that they had recommended 7-inch gutters. It was their opinion that what we had was not adequate.
Right. That's probably the smaller size.
It is.
As far as the cleaning and sealing, you know, I know that's, of course, that's on the newer structure, is that
Mhm.
correct?
That's correct.
That's only on the newer
Only on
brick.
the
That's correct.
I don't have an issue with that.
Hmm.
So, unless there's more discussion, I would make a motion that we would approve that part and approve half-round with round downspouts for the older construction, which would be more appropriate at that time. You can go back and discuss that with your contractor.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, our guidelines only allow for the K-style if it's a newer building, or if the K-style would be appropriate to the style of the building, say a 1958 ranch-style house in the historic district, which we do have quite a few. K-style, this style of guttering is perfectly fine for that, but our guidelines require the half-round for older structures, which of course the church would be. But you're not putting any guttering on the 1952 part, are you?
No.
I mean, do we have a list of, do we know some contractors that do half-round?
We don't keep a website. It's one of the things that
That's on our
we've been
list,
discussing,
yeah.
to start keeping a website of that. But I do know that there's plenty of half-round guttering in the community, so people are putting it on there. We could work with you to try to find somebody, or you could talk to Baker.
They might be able to get it.
Well, I know they're subbing out the
Okay.
gutter work.
It is kind of a big deal for us with the guttering, especially on a building of that significance and age. I mean, do you guys agree with that the half-round is sort of, need to follow the guidelines on that, I think.
And obviously, we don't have any issue with the repairing your roof membrane. I mean, obviously,
Yeah.
that's out of sight and needs to be
Okay.
done, so.
All right. And I assume that as far as bringing the guttering down and reattaching it on the courtyard, that wouldn't be an issue.
If that's,
That's on the 50s structure, right?
It's on the original structure, the 1883 and the 50s, but
It's out
Ah.
of public view,
Is-
correct?
it is, if you will look at the, in the pictures that are on the display now, if you will look at the section between the brick and the white roof, these are the sections of gutters that have to be reattached
Where, I can't.
and repaired.
this,
Oh, that page.
are you talking about the aerial?
No, I'm talking about this one. You can see it.
Oh,
You can
okay.
see it in this one.
Oh, I
Um,
see, but it's,
yeah.
you can't see it because the addition is there. Is that what
Yeah,
you're saying?
the area most to your left is the membrane roof on the 1952 section. The section on your right is the 1883 structure.
And so
Yeah.
You're saying you just want to reattach that?
Yes.
But are you not concerned that that's an incorrect size?
Well, it's possible that we may have to replace that at some point. But we do know that as far as the guttering on one side, it's only taking water from the membrane roof. So the requirement,
Oh,
its
you were
capacity
talking-
doesn't have to be that much.
Oh, you're talking about the guttering on the flat roof? over there.
Yes.
Oh, you see what I'm talking about? You see the little
Yeah.
guttering along the side? He's not talking about up in the old part of the church or
There.
something like that. Yeah.
Right.
Okay,
Yeah.
sorry.
Now-
I
Oh,
didn't-
yeah.
Yes. Now, the guttering on the other end is, the gutter on the other side is attached to the oldest part of the building, but it's a shorter run.
Well, if it's not, I mean, is that visible to the public?
It is not.
Okay, if it's not visible to the public, then just putting back up what you have there, I think would be fine.
Okay.
Our concern is putting new guttering up on the
On that part.
older part of the structure that's visible. That would need to be half-round guttering with round downspouts.
Okay.
Yeah.
Now, are there
But
other,
everything else would be fine.
I assume that we could get the largest half-round guttering we
Sure,
could find.
Sure.
Well, you may not want to say that till you see how big it comes.
Well, I did notice that this K-style, they were recommending 7-inch, and, what you'd said is that you're aware of it coming in half-round up to 6-inch. So if we could find a 7-inch half-round, could we use it?
Yes, I mean.
I mean, if this is for your water control, I think, if that's what.
That won't be a problem.
Yeah.
So I guess we're ready. Did you make that motion, or have you made?
I'll second that motion
Okay.
just so we can have a
All right.
discussion.
Roll call?
Mr. Owens,
Aye.
Mrs. Hartshorn,
Aye.
and Mr. Geisler.
Aye.
Okay.
All right, thank you very much.
Thank you.
All right. Next is a certificate of appropriateness for Healing Waters Counseling Center, Brad Kinder, owner, 112 East Main Street.
Gabriel Christopher, Town of Abington. So yes, Brad Kinder, applicant and owner, has requested approval of certificate of appropriateness for a handicap access ramp. So we've kind of brought this up before, so you guys are somewhat familiar with this situation. And the property is located at 112 East Main Street.
Oh, wait a minute.
Some background, currently there is no handicap access ramp on the property. The existing wooden porch structure is located on a cement pad centered on the north-facing elevation. A broken cement walkway leads from the brick sidewalk to a cement pad. Access to the site will continue to be East Main Street, and all adjoining properties are zoned OH. Okay, so staff findings for this first section is the applicant is proposing to replace the broken concrete path leading from the town brick sidewalks in a herringbone pattern to a concrete porch pad. Brick pavers will be used and set in a herringbone pattern to match the town's brick sidewalk. The brick paver color will be what is termed an Abington blend. In addition to the proposed brick walkway, the applicant is proposing to construct an L-shaped handicap access ramp constructed of the same bricks used for the proposed walkway. Lastly, the front porch will be raised to be level with the threshold of the front entrance. All that has to do with ADA compliance. And you can see here's an aerial view of, you see the walkway leading from the sidewalk to the front door, and then you see L-shaped access ramp there on the side. Staff would like to notify the board that construction of the handicap access ramp and the raising of the porch is to be level with the front entrance as required by the Virginia existing building code related to ADA compliance, and I've put in the code here, courtesy of Rick Statz, our building official. The brick walkway will be centered on the north side of the property, leading from the town-owned brick sidewalk, set in a herringbone pattern to a concrete pad supporting the wooden front porch structure. Dimensions of the walkway are proposed to be 24 feet by 5 feet. The handicap ramp will be constructed of the same brick used for the proposed walkway and be built in an L shape tying into the front porch, but the right-hand side porch balustrade will have to be removed. The handicap ramp will be abutting the structure's northwestern face. Dimensions for the L-shaped handicap ramp are proposed to be 40 feet by 4 feet. However, having the ramp abutting the historic structure could result in damage if the property was turned back into a residence and the new owners wanted to eliminate the ramp. This is referencing section 20-A of the design review guidelines, mentions ramp should be readily reversible. Having the ramp abutting the structure may lessen the ramp's reversibility. So just thinking, if it gets turned back into a residence, it's gonna be right up against the historic brick. It might cause damage. If somebody wants to take that out, then they'll have to be chipping right next to the structure. So possibly having a gap in between the ramp and the house might be the best way to make sure it is reversible in the future if that ends up becoming a need. So, other than that, that's all I have. If there's any questions, concerns, I can stay. If not,
Yeah, I had some questions. Are you representing them?
no.
Oh, I mean,
No,
are they
they're-
here? I couldn't remember who they, what.
Come on
okay.
up if you would.
Yeah, I had a couple questions, but I didn't know if they were here or not, sorry. It's been a day.
Hello.
Hi, Jeff Easterling for Healing Waters Counseling Center. This is Danny Crow. He's the one going to be doing the work, actually, too. Sorry. And that picture sort of looks like we took a post out. The post is not. The porch itself, the structure is going to remain the same. It's just that little piece of lattice that's at the bottom between the two posts that will be removed so the ramp can come up.
Why wouldn't you just take the ramp straight from the sidewalk and have it go up to the front step?
It's going to take away from your certificate of appropriateness even more because it's going to be so high, they want big rails on it. We did not want all of that.
Do you have any access from the back?
No,
You don't?
no. No, the
Or
only
not
thing in the
from
back
the
of that
side
is
either.
a two-story porch. They'd have to come up a,
And you don't have a side entrance?
no, no.
Because I was noticing that was one of the guidelines that said it needed to be.
Yeah.
So how much does it have to come up? It looks like it's just one step, but maybe
Well,
I
you
can't
do, but then
see.
you have that step up going into the front door as well. And you have to have so much of an area for a wheelchair to come up level off before they go in a door. It can't be just a straight ramp up.
What did we do with the Fields Pen House? We kind of had the same issue with their ramp, right?
It's a much further
It's
distance.
it's deeper.
Yeah.
Yeah, we didn't want to actually do an ADA.
I think they built up kind of a berm too for that, didn't they?
But
Mhm.
Yeah.
Rick is forcing our hand on that one. I mean, we have 4 other offices, or 3 other offices within an hour of this location, and they're all ADA compliant. But he says we have to make this ADA compliant, even though there's only one door in that house that a wheelchair can fit through, and that's the ADA bathroom we put in. All the other doors are not wide enough for a wheelchair.
So what's your plan then? With a wheelchair?
We
No,
didn't
he's
really
saying-
have a
He's saying
plan.
that.
You get what I'm saying? I mean,
He's
Yeah.
saying that.
but Rick is,
The town's requiring.
they're requiring us to do it. We would have been glad to have put a pretty brick walkway in and fixed it nice that way and just not had ADA compliant, because we can send a patient that needs that to Cedar Bluff, Withful, Wise. We have other locations, but they said that it has to be done.
See, I just think this is,
It's an expense we didn't want to,
I just think it's, from a historic preservation standpoint, I think there's a lot of problems with it. The removal of the original, porch material, the look of it, we require signs to be 4 square feet, and we're gonna have all this going on in the front of this building.
Yeah. And also just the fact that it could change, or what, right here with it could damage it.
Right.
If it ever gets removed.
And 2, also, he only gave us a 60-day certificate of occupancy until we get this done, and then he's rescinding that.
I got a question. The step up, if you go back to the original picture of right there.
Yeah.
It's one step up to the porch, so to speak.
So the
right?
concrete slab, yes.
So to make it ADA compliant, it's got to be raised up high enough to get into
The
the
door.
next step that goes into the door.
Yes.
So,
So
What's the
what-
angle on that?
How much elevation is
Yeah.
that? 12 inches?
I believe it was 17.
17 inches, I'm pretty sure, yeah.
So
But
we
it's
have to.
from the street, from the sidewalk up, it was, yeah. And
So I think you have to have 52 inches of level before you go into is that correct? So if we, from what I understand, for every inch up, it has to be a foot out.
Mhm.
So that'd be 17 feet, plus the 52 inches. Well, see, what I'm trying to come up with is there enough space to make the ramp
Yeah.
and have a flat before we get to the porch?
How high?
But then that's gonna affect the balustrades.
yeah.
It was, wasn't it? But then anyway.
Yeah, but then he wanted those handrails and everything, which
Like those big metal handrails?
Well, if you
he
have.
said we had to have
if-
that.
And that's because the sidewalk would be raised from the ground level?
And well, we even addressed of putting landscaping up and making it like a roll off the side.
Well,
so
that's
there
what
was.
we-
That's what we said we did at Fields
Well, but he
Greenhouse,
wouldn't
right?
allow us to do that. Rick told us we couldn't do that. He said that's called a curb. That's getting rid of the curb, but it's still not getting rid of them falling off the side, so you still have to have a handrail.
So,
And we really did not want handrails and all that messing up the front of the house either. I mean, because I think that takes away from it as well.
I wonder if we could have
Yeah, I think
like a special called meeting with Rick here to address some of this, because, I mean, this is not a good solution.
Well, this has actually gone between their attorney and our attorney already, so
Oh.
this is the solution that they
so
proposed
this is
at
what we,
this
this is the
time.
Fields Penthouse before we did the.
Oh, yeah, I don't think we have a modern picture, unfortunately, so,
And they were not required to put any kind of handrails.
right, and I don't know what that
I mean, the
site
handrails are
is.
kind of what I think is gonna be really
Well, there's
ugly.
actually one on, and I don't know, because every time I mention anything like that, it's grandfathered in, which I get that, you know, if it's been a certain time, but that doesn't look that old of a ramp, and it's on, what's the street back here, Valley?
No, it's on Main Street.
No, there's one back here, though, that I'm talking
Oh.
about that's on Valley, and geez, it looks like it's 24 inches up the side, and they don't have no rails. It's a ramp going into a business right back up here on the back street on Valley, but, you know, I actually mentioned that to Rick, and
So
I
you're
think it
saying
was
this is a
grandfathered in.
compromise that's already been?
This is the
What-
compromise?
Well, I mean, it was discussed, the various options, they could put in a shorter, straighter one with handrails, or they
Or
could put
this
in
kind without
this type of
handrails.
a.
Yeah, Brad's
a lower
attorney
one.
and the town attorney
Right.
spoke back and forth about this, and this
But-
is where we're at, so.
Yeah.
What do the neighbors think? Have they,
Well, we haven't really.
I
I mean,
just
we
wondering.
like how Goodman's Jewelers is, but they didn't have as much
They didn't
of
have
a
as
step
much.
up like we did.
Okay.
And theirs looks just more like a nice level walkway
Yeah.
in. But we can't, the way that house is situated, we cannot do that, because we was hoping for something that
Is
easy.
this gonna happen with every business now on Main Street?
I mean, if you were to take a structure that has not gone through, that wasn't a business and is now a business, you are gonna have to have handicap accessibility. That's just a requirement, it's not
Right.
just, so, there is a good possibility that other structures, if something was to be converted to a business, would need that. But each one of them, I think, is really just very different, just like you're saying, like how far are you from the street, or?
We even mentioned
So
about
what-
having a removable ramp. If we did have someone that come with a wheelchair, we would go out and put a ramp down and get them into the building, and then we would get them out, but they said we couldn't do that either, so.
Like, this is a downward
Yeah.
slope here, so.
That's
Goodman's
downward.
It's actually like, yeah, the
Yeah.
elevation goes the opposite
You were gonna say
direction.
something, I'm
so.
sorry, I didn't
Yeah,
mean to
I'm
interrupt you.
a little curious about the handrail, and maybe Maya can help us with this. And not being able to just slope the landscaping away from, you know, if it's 2 or 3 feet on each side, I mean, if they fall, they're not gonna fall, you know.
Yeah, but I think my understanding is that this has already been. through
Well, I
some
mean,
process.
I guess if there was another type
Solution?
of, like, if they're putting fill in here and coming up with a whole new front design to the yard, then possibly, I don't
That's-
know if that was discussed with Rick or
Well,
not.
17 inches is not that.
No, this one, like I say, back here is a
It's
whole
not
lot
that
higher
much.
than
Just
that, but
think of
they
that.
got by without handrails somehow.
So if you did the original design that you showed us, there's no handrail required for that?
No, because when you go up the side here, it's not enough, it comes in pretty level on that side. So you don't really have that much height to it at all.
And you still need the front middle piece. It just looks like so much.
Well, yeah, I
pavement.
mean, that's the more direct path to the door. We would rather not have to do any of this, of course,
Yeah.
but we're gonna have to do something, so.
So is that tree there, or is that just thrown in there?
No, that tree is there. That's a dogwood.
Oh, I
Oh,
see.
yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, and then, like I say,
so-
right now, the walkway that's actually in front of the building, which, I don't know what that used to be, but it's all busted up. I mean, it's really not safe for anybody, even at this point, us having patients coming in and out.
So if you do a walkway, then you just have to do handrails on either side, and you don't want to do that?
Well, I mean, we
They're
think
just not
it would look
look.
very It'd stand out like a sore thumb, as the old saying goes, you know?
And then, but what do you feel about taking that decorative trim off, though? That's
Well,
gonna
we,
make
we
the
won't
porch
have to
look-
take the decorative trim off.
None of it?
No.
You have to take the,
Even if we do the side,
You still
it's
don't-
just in between the two posts down at the bottom. It's not really that visible.
Okay.
can you zoom in again?
Yeah.
again, Lane?
Sorry, we're just.
It's-
See, there's
really-
actually
No, I got
3
you.
posts there.
Yeah. It's actually past the second post. That section's what would have to be taken out. Not even the first 2 posts. There's a little section there that would remain. It would just be the section behind that.
Well, I guess if you put a pretty simple black.
Right there you go.
Oh, there you
Yeah.
go. Okay.
That's a
Oh, I
good view.
see.
That little part up right there in between the back post and the second post back is what would come out.
What is
That-
your preference?
Other than not to do it.
Yeah, I mean, other than not to.
Oh, yeah, and
Which,
like I
that's
say,
probably our
that,
preference.
we was hoping that we would find a way to not have to do it since we did have all the
Yeah.
other offices. And I think Brad said within his, I don't want to misquote this, but 13 years, he's only actually had 3 people come to that office, any office, with a wheelchair. I mean, it's not something that happens a lot, apparently. But with this house, with it being from, I think, 1871, somewhere's there anyway, the doorways are all original doors. So even to get them in the front, on that front door, if you can go back to a straight front angle, I have to actually open the second door up and have to unlatch the top and the bottom and open both doors up to even get a wheelchair through the front door.
And then I guess once you're inside, you're
Then
saying the
that-
doors.
They
We're
can
on
go to the
drive.
waiting room, because that used to be a living room with a big grand opening, and they can go to the bathroom. But as far as me getting them into a office, there's no way a wheelchair can go through any other door, because they're like 30, a little over 30 inches wide inside.
Even under what you proposed here, do you have to raise that stoop, that porch up?
We still have to raise it
So
up.
how are you gonna do that with the porch?
Because the porch itself, if you can zoom back in, it's actually raised up so much off of that concrete slab already.
Oh, I see. So you're just gonna leave it like it, we have to cut some of the bottom of it off or something?
We're gonna do an overlay of pavers up to the threshold.
Of pavers.
Yes, brick pavers, the same pavers in the sidewalk.
How many inches is that?
It actually shot really close to 1 inch per foot.
No, I mean,
From the front.
Just the stairs right
From
here,
the
what he's talking
stairs
about
up
that.
to
I think
like-
about 6 inches or
Yeah,
something.
5.
and you got enough clearance underneath that? Oh, you're taking that one railing. Well, you're still, I mean, do you have 6 inches clearance under that the balustrade on the side there?
It'd be close.
So it's gonna be right up to the bottom.
Yeah, we don't want to really mess with that porch with all the intricate detail.
I think it would look better to come straight in with the sidewalk.
Well, I was gonna
It's
suggest,
just
what
less-
would you think of just coming straight in with the sidewalk and putting like very simple black railing, like wrought iron, super simple black hand railing on either side, not doing the white and making it all busy like that. I mean, something that would just kind of blend in. Is it gotta be 5 feet wide, at least?
Yeah. Well, I mean, to make it blend in and go up with how wide that porch is, it's going to have to. I mean,
How
it would
wide's
be-
the porch?
What was that? I forget exactly.
The porch is 8 feet.
Oh.
Where do people
Total.
park for this business? On the street?
Street parking.
There's no driveway.
So that's something that, I mean, you don't really have. They're gonna have to come down and go in driveway, or they're gonna have to
And
come up
whose
and go in
driveway
Goodman's
is that?
driveway.
Yeah.
That's actually the ladies next door, but we have an easement to go down there, because we do have parking in the back, which she has gave us a rough,
On her, from her.
yeah. But there's an easement, but she gives us a rough way to go over that, so,
I
yeah.
I mean, I think the least objectionable, the least obtrusive, the thing that's gonna blend in the best, I think, would be just to do the walkway straight in with like a simple wrought iron handrail.
What's,
But,
We didn't really want the handrail either. I mean, us personally, we
I
did
mean, I
not
see that,
want-
but look across the street, I mean, you, look at, like, I mean, there are little black,
Well, they got that,
you
yeah,
know,
that
I
old
mean,
style
right.
fence around there and things.
I mean, that's, you don't, it's not like
It's
you
not
don't,
offensive.
you don't see,
Yeah.
you see that in the historic district quite a
Yeah.
bit. You see that with the white, I mean, it's not.
No, that's not.
And if the church there, that's even newer, and that's very simple, see?
and
Yeah, like
there's,
a wrought
there's a
iron.
handrail on that church, and that's, but it goes away, cause it's not shiny and white.
There's some more up there.
Yeah, and they've got the black metal. Go ahead. You was gonna say something, Danny?
But then how high is a handrail? How many inches off the ground?
So
42.
42.
clarification for me, Maya, I don't know
Sure.
if you were in the meetings with Rick and them on sloping the dirt away from the sidewalk to eliminate the handrails. Was that not an option? I mean, if he sloped it out 5 feet, or it was 8 feet, to where it just kind of contours into the, like, cause that one side slopes, would just, in my opinion, just disappear, and then slope it towards the dogwood,
Yep.
and then we can eliminate the handrails.
According to
understand.
Rick, that only gets rid of what they call a curb. He says without us sloping it off, with that rise, there's supposed to be a bumper curb up the side to keep people from running off the side of it.
As far as the wheelchair.
I guess, yes.
So
why
if you had a
couldn't we-
rail, go
Why
ahead.
couldn't we put a soldier course of brick up the side that's up 2 inches to keep the curb, keep it from running off?
If we can meet back and get Rick in on this and we can get it
Yeah.
together,
I
I'm
think that would
fine.
be-
I
I
feel,
think that
I
would
feel
be a
like we
better
need a little
idea.
more input from
I
like
just would
Betsy
like
and Peyton.
to get this out of the way
know.
and get that certificate of occupancy, so we're just not on, because we've only got that till, what, November? And then, I mean, we don't have it no more,
We
and
can
it's
meet
all
in
hinging
We
on
can
this.
meet- We can have another meeting.
I think it would be helpful to have Rick here and for us to
I'd
like.
I'd
try
like to just kind of think about it a little more. It's just- I didn't realize it was that much of a slope.
Yeah.
Would
Yeah, if
you-
we
would
didn't
you-
have that other step up,
Yeah.
that's the only
That's
thing
a-
that's the kicker, is
is
that.
that other step.
Yeah, that other step up into the door.
Would you be okay with coming back in the middle of October?
Sure.
So can I ask what they're coming back? Are they coming back with a?
We'd like a meeting with them and Rick to explore the possibilities of working out this problem.
Well, I mean, is Rick going to, it's not as if Rick can go against the standard, so should they bring back a different option, or?
What I'm proposing is, if we can slope off how many feet ever it takes, and if this curbing is necessary, he could put in a soldier course of whatever height it takes
Right.
to keep, as a bumper, so to speak.
Well, what I'm saying is we can't make that decision. Rick will have to make that decision,
Right,
so.
can we ask
should
Rick,
just,
is that an
yeah.
option for us? And if
Mhm.
it is, how far off can we slope off of each side?
Okay.
Do you want us to have a plan B tonight?
Well, no, I just want them to know when they're leaving here that we're not coming back to a meeting where we're gonna discuss options. They need to talk to Rick prior to this meeting, and if they wanna have a different option to bring to you all, then it needs to come in with that brick example, with the sloping, all of that. Cause I don't, we can't really influence, the
The
building,
ADA.
So
right?
he has to present that option
Correct.
to Rick.
Yes.
See if that's.
Is the ADA requirement on the handrail a specifically defined handrail, or could they find something that was more attractive?
No, there's not a specific, there'll be a
Okay.
height requirement,
Just a
but,
height
yeah.
requirement, so it could be black, thin, or something like it. I mean, is there a width I mean, what is?
There is a width, I mean, I don't know
Okay.
about the handrail, I'm talking about, but there's a width requirement on,
No, I mean, even on the handrail, so it would kind of disappear from view. If it was black
Mhm.
and skinny, it might just look like some of those fences around town that you don't really see.
right. I'm
Though
not
it'll
sure.
be 42
We can
inches
check
high.
into it. I mean, see, the thing is too, it's why you said the handrail has to be there to help people get up. Well, I'm thinking if they're in a wheelchair, they're probably not going to get up out of the wheelchair. But if that's, I mean, I know we're, like you say, because it's a business now.
Yeah.
If somebody's handicapped and crippled, for Pete's sake, they can't get in there right now without a handrail. I mean, you know what I'm saying, and it's
Yeah.
just a flat. So.
With broken concrete. or
With
whatever.
broken concrete. Yeah, we just wanted to get us a nice walk fixed and make it look pretty and
Yeah.
move on, because we can schedule, but like I say, I know you got codes you gotta go by. Because anybody who comes, because people call this office all the time, and we schedule them in Withville, and we schedule them in, Wise, and we schedule them in Cedar Bluff, and if it's a certain, because certain people see certain therapists anyway. I have people that actually live close to here, but they want to see a therapist, and we're always like trying, well, why don't you just come here, we have this office, but they want to go all the way to Wise for some reason. But anyway, anybody that had a disability, we could put them.
Reroute.
You just, cause like, what Gabe was saying. We put a ramp in there, then if somebody wants to make it back to a house, then they're complaining about tearing it out. Well, we didn't want to do it really to begin with.
Right.
Because of this, you know.
So what I'm proposing, is that acceptable with?
Mhm.
I mean, I guess I just wanna make sure my units are, like, is that something that's gonna make any sense?
Well, they'll just have to come back, and if they talk to Rick and they find out they still don't want to do what
Then we're
Rick's
gonna have to go
requiring,
with-
then they're coming back to you with this same design.
Why,
so.
could you tell Rick to call me tomorrow? You will see him, I'm sure, right?
Correct.
I will be back down here tomorrow, so tell Rick to call me and he can come by and we can try to get this worked out. I mean, I just want to get everything took care of so we can move on.
Yeah.
But does that make sense of what I'm suggesting?
Yeah, that's what we suggested to begin with.
And did you mention the soldier course? It's actually a bump.
Well, he said if we slope it, that we don't even have to have a curb, but he still want a handrail.
Because it's not just for handicap accessibility. I mean, it's very much like you couldn't say, hey, we're going to build a Walgreens here and handicapped people can't go to that one, but they'll go over to this other one. So if you're a business, you have to have handicap
Right.
accessibility. So the handicap accessibility is not specifically just for wheelchairs. It's for anybody. So it could be a person
Just
who
wanted
has a
little
walker
more
or
support.
any other reason that they might need to support themselves. So
But there's no railings on the other proposal.
I'm
correct,
sorry.
based on the slope.
But you're
Yep.
okay with the pavers, and with the pavers you're proposing, I mean, the wheelchair can roll over those? or
Yeah,
any
it's gonna
issue
be
with any of that
fixed.
stuff?
He just did some work over here right at the Methodist, with the Methodist, right beside the Methodist parking lot. He just did a lot of brick and,
You can roll.
So that's okay,
Yeah.
that's not gonna come up?
It's
I just
locked
wanna
in.
I'm just trying to put out any fires before we
Right.
bring you back here and someone says,
yeah, and
oh,
all
we
of this
have to
would
use
be
cement.
locked in. It wouldn't be moving, yeah.
And so this is a slope that's taking a longer time to go up. Does that
Yeah.
make sense?
Yeah.
So
But-
it's a gentler slope than probably coming straight up here.
I guess, so why no handrail there?
Yeah.
Well,
You're gonna send someone 27 plus 14, 40-some feet?
Well, I didn't
As
make
opposed-
this decision, so if you guys
I
wanna talk to Rick,
understand. I understand.
Rick is
That's
the
probably be
building
helpful to
official.
have Rick here to help us
Yeah, I'd like to know
understand
that
what we
reasoning,
can do
too.
to
Look
try
at
to
the
come
front,
up.
it's close to one-to-one.
How many feet is it from the sidewalk, and you probably don't know the answer to this,
17?
to the first step?
Oh, to the first step. Or was it 17 feet all the way?
No, it's 17 feet, 3 inches.
Up to the porch?
To the porch. From the sidewalk, the town sidewalk, to the porch, to the step up, the first step up.
And so
Versus-
both step-ups are taken in consideration.
Mhm.
That's probably less than 17 inches, or roughly 17.
It was.
Yeah, because by the time we had to raise,
Because that may be the issue, that you don't have enough distance.
Yes.
That's what I'm
We took
thinking,
into
it's short.
consideration the distance from the town sidewalk to the first step, and then the height elevation from the town sidewalk to the threshold.
Which is from the sidewalk, excuse me.
So basically, it's 17 feet, 3 inches, and then 17 inches of rise, 17.6. So it's just a little bit over. not
Can
much.
you go back to
Okay,
Goodman's
so
and
that's-
just see?
That's the hiccup there,
yeah.
I just wanna see
Okay.
what their distance, I guess theirs sits a little deeper with that big front porch, so they have more room.
And it's a downward slope
Yeah.
here versus this, which is an upward slope.
Upward, yeah.
Yeah.
So they're going up to a door,
Right.
and this one's going down to a
Yeah.
door, so.
So truly, there's not enough distance there to do what I'm
It's the distance is the
proposing.
problem.
So and that's, if I understand it correctly, that was the option. They could either go from the front, they'd need the railing because the distance is shorter and the rise is higher, or they could come in a much longer roundabout way with no railing.
But
To get up to
would
the
they
same
have
height.
to keep both of those sidewalks?
Well, we would want the,
You want the straight in?
yeah.
So,
That's
so
the
what you're saying
original, I
is
mean.
the options are
Yeah,
either
but you're
this.
replacing it because it's shot.
So what you're
Yeah,
saying is that
it's
the
true.
options are either this or the straight in with the railing.
Yeah. Those-
Because if we did do that, we would have to come up with something to tie in with the rest of the porch.
Mhm. No, yeah, I understand that.
You know, if we got rid of the front sidewalk, which I'm sure Katie barred the door. Brad Kendra would not want to do that, but, you know.
So tonight, you could make a motion that if they did fix, you know, in order for them to get moving forward.
Okay.
You could make a motion that if they chose to do this other alternative,
That's
that you would
approved.
be approving that, if they could make that work
All right,
with.
but before we do that, do we need to address this return, this one concern here in the staff findings about turning it back into a residence?
No, because if
don't?
we do straightforward, we're not going to be harming anything.
I know, but I was gonna make the motion to do that, what you proposed tonight, if you can't do the other.
Well, I have concerns about the other.
Yeah.
I mean, so I don't know that, I mean,
Yeah, I'm not, I think it has to be a straight shot.
I think it has to be a
Either we
straight
rather than
shot.
not, and I think that's where we are.
Okay.
but I think we can make a motion for that.
Yeah.
I mean, if that would be
Tell me how
helpful.
to make that.
Yeah, that-
Make the motion to do,
Well, I think Mike,
like you make it, cause you can.
Okay, okay, if I can work.
I
this
can't
through.
make it.
I make a motion that we just double check to make sure that we can't just slope it far enough to where that it's not a curve issue, so to speak. But if it is, then we can approve straight in with handrails, but then you'd have to come back and give us a sample of the handrail, obviously, to pass that.
Well, handrails can be put in after he gets the ramp up, too. I mean, what I'm just saying, I mean, because that can be mounted, it has to be mounted after the structure's finished, so.
They'll epoxy that into the concrete most likely.
I don't even know what that motion, can you reread that motion to us, please?
So you're making a motion that you're making a motion that you would like to approve a straight-in handicap accessibility.
Correct.
With either the option, if no handrails, if the grading can be met,
Okay,
or
If
return
not.
with a sample of the handrail.
Perfect.
you're good, I'll second that.
All right, roll call.
All right, Mr. Owens.
Aye.
Mrs. Hartshorn.
Aye.
And Mr. Geisler.
Aye.
Now,
All
did you
right.
wanna set another meeting in October?
Well, now I guess do you do?
I don't know.
Okay, well, if you need one, you can contact Bonnie and we can
Just
have
have Rick
one.
call me
Yeah.
tomorrow, and we'll
Okay.
go from there, and then we'll figure out if we need to have another meeting.
And we could
Sounds good.
probably meet, we're gonna need another meeting anyways, probably this month, so we can discuss that. Most likely it'll be October 26th, but.
Okay, that'll work.
All right, thank you so much.
Thank you very much, appreciate it.
Thank you, sorry that's so complicated.
That's all right, no problem.
Okay, next is Robert Lagarde, 203 Valley Street.
So yes, Robert Lagarde, applicant and owner, has requested approval of certificate of appropriateness for significant repairs concerning two chimneys, chimneys 1 and chimney 2, and the removal of one
Yeah, I'm gonna leave it out
chimney
there for somebody else.
labeled chimney
Thanks.
3. The property is located on 203 West Valley Street. The two chimneys proposed to have significant repairs completed are located toward the front or south of the structure, and the chimney proposed to be removed is located to the back or north of the structure. Some background, according to Places and Time, Volume 2, ran by Nancy C. King. The structure was built in 1896 and is known as the William J. Fickle House. According to the land card for the property, the structure was built in 1919, so there's just some discrepancy there. Access to the site will continue to be West Valley Street, Cumming Street, East Alley, or King Street. And the adjoining properties are OH on 3 sides, and to the north is a parcel zoned R3, which is residential. For some staff findings, the applicant is proposing to conduct a significant repairs / rebuild sections of the two original chimneys located at the front or south of the structure, visible from West Valley Street. And you can see they're visible here in this picture from Places and Time. In addition, in order to do the work on two chimneys, the applicant is proposing to remove a chimney located at the back or north of the structure, visible from East Alley and King Street. In this historic photograph from Place and Time, you can't see that one just yet. The applicant believes this chimney was not original to the structure and was installed at a later date to service a coal-fired stove in the second floor kitchen. The front or south two chimneys are constructed of brick and appear to have a lime-based mortar, given the color and the amount of mortar missing from the larger of the two chimneys. So the larger one's labeled chimney 1, and the more narrow one, as I'll go into more details, labeled chimney 2. Much of the mortar under the middle bulk course, when looking at the larger of the two chimneys, is gone for chimney 1. The narrow chimney, or chimney 2, to the right of the larger chimney appears to have a gray earth tone stucco applied to the brick only under the middle belt course, whereas the larger chimney, or chimney 1, has remnants of where the same gray earth tone stucco was applied, except the stucco appears to have been applied under the middle belt course and the middle and top belt courses at one time. From property research, staff was not able to determine if the stucco was an original detail or something that was added at a later date. The structure appears to have had many additions over the years, notably to the back or north. Many of the additions' fascia ends are squared off. The cross gable section where the chimney is located has fascia matching that of the rest of the structure, where each end of the fascia is rounded, leading staff to believe this cross gable is original to the house or was a very early addition. The only difference is the verge board seen on the front and side gables faces, whereas the rear cross gable face has clapboards. This is not an uncommon practice where the back of the structure was seen as lesser, thus not requiring the same amount of detail as more prominent elevations. The chimney, or chimney 3, located here matches those located at the front or south of the structure, and mortar appears to be the same as well. A metal pipe, which I've highlighted in the red oval, was observed running up the north face of the chimney. It is staff's opinion this chimney, or chimney 3, could be original to the structure or a very early addition. If there's any questions, concerns, anything you would like me to elaborate more, and I can. If not, I can step aside.
Okay, thank you. You're on. Good afternoon, good evening.
I'm Bob Lagarde, and I live at 203 Valley Street Northwest, and I'm needing some chimney work. 3 chimneys.
And so the work that you're going to do to the 1 and 2, that's just basically repair work?
Yes, I've got a Jim Gorman is going to do the job, and he says he's done some work for the town of Abingdon. And he's got an estimate, right, that I have right here. And he's talking about removing the chimney in the back.
Before we get to that, what's going to happen with 1 and 2? What's the work that's going to be done?
Well, I can read this, or I can,
Summarize if you want, whatever.
the large fireplace chimney in the middle of the roof, repair loose bricks in the middle of the fireplace chimney, remove all loose mortar cement between the bricks on 4 sides of the chimney where needed, tuck point all these bad areas with new mortar cement, waterproof the flashing on all 4 sides of the chimney. And the chimney at the top of the roof, that's really the only chimney I need, because that's to the furnace. He says make all necessary repairs to the furnace chimney and flashing as needed.
So one issue is, I imagine that these were handmade bricks, I would assume, from the age of the building, or older bricks, and they tend to be significantly softer than modern bricks. And the problem is, if you put in modern mortar, then when they contract and expand with temperature changes and with moisture, that modern mortar is too unforgiving, and it will crack out these old bricks. I had that that's what I did with my house, and I had to
Yeah.
have it all redone within 10 years. So you've got to make sure you've got somebody that's doing what they need to do with regard to the right kind of mortar
For historic bricks.
with these bricks. So that's one issue. I mean, obviously, we're all in favor of you repairing your chimneys and fixing your mortar and doing whatever you need to do, but I can tell you as a property owner, you've got to make sure you do that right, or you're gonna have a mess. Because what I had was all of, I just had a mess. I had all these bricks I had to replace because they cracked out and fell out onto the roof.
Well, my bricks fell down the chimney and busted my gas logs.
Oh, I got you.
And I had a mess inside the house.
Right.
So that's when I first discovered I had some bad chimneys.
So, part of what we approved probably needs to specify
Materials.
and it's in your interest to make sure that's done right. Now, now that third chimney, I mean, it looks like that's an original chimney on the back of the house. That addition looks like it's part of the original house also. Is that not the case?
He said it looks like that chimney was added, Jim said he thought it was added later on as a coal stove
Well, when this house was built, what year?
around 1900. I think he
Are
said
there
eight-
fireplaces, were there
Yeah, where does that
fireplaces
chimney
that
go?
coordinated with that chimney?
Pardon me?
Are there fireplaces inside the house that coordinate with that chimney?
The chimney where the bricks fell down.
No, I'm talking about
Number three.
the
The
chimney
slim.
on the back of the house.
Skinny.
No,
There's no fireplaces inside?
So
What,
where-
have they been removed?
there were no fireplaces.
Oh, okay.
So is there a
It's
hole
just
in
a
your
coal
ceiling?
stove.
I mean,
That's what Jim said.
is there
I
even
do
the
not
stove
know.
still there, or there's an opening for the, I mean, you just look in your house and there's a chimney, but there's no, it's not attached to anything?
I don't know.
Okay. I'm just curious, I mean.
The reason we're asking is
Yeah.
that, our guidelines require that original features of homes be protected and not, I mean, that's what, we're the Historic Preservation
Right.
Review Board, that's what, it's all about preserving the original features of buildings and
Right.
keeping them intact, so that's why it's problematic to remove features.
Yeah.
Especially prominent features like windows or chimneys or trimming or doors, those kinds of things. If they get gone on enough buildings, pretty soon we don't have a historic district.
And then then you have to think about your roof. You take that chimney down, you're gonna have to think about your roof.
On the inside of this chimney that he's
Number three.
discussing, I'm curious to know.
Is that the one that I'm saying
Can you
was
go to
a
that picture
coal
that's
stove?
got the
Yes.
oval, the red oval?
Oh, we could take, it's right here, though. Do you see this
Yeah.
image right in front of you? This
Yeah,
chimney
but I mean,
right here.
There's a good picture of it here on page 10 of mine.
Yes.
Yeah, there you go.
Yes.
My question is, between those two windows,
Yeah.
on the inside of the house, is there just sheetrock there?
Between which two windows?
Those two.
These two.
In the back.
Where that chimney comes down through the roof into that room, is there just a hole in the wall where a pipe went into, or is it just sheetrocked over, or?
In other words, that chimney has to come through that room.
Yeah, that's a go
So
somewhere.
is the brick chimney there between the two windows and it's just painted to match the walls? Or is it an exposed brick, or is it chased in with sheetrock? I mean, what's happening inside the house?
Not exposed brick.
Oh, it's not? Is it painted brick?
I don't think so.
You think someone sheetrocked over, maybe that was one room and they turned it into two or something?
There's been a lot of stuff done to this house.
Well, so let me just ask you, it's a pretty small chimney. Can't you just have it repaired instead of taking it down?
Yeah, I guess.
Okay, I mean.
That's our best.
If
solution.
that's,
I think that's probably your best solution.
yeah.
Okay.
Otherwise, you
Definitely-
may open a can of worms that you don't want to open if you start.
Well,
messing.
I mean,
that's gonna up the price, I would think.
well, it looks like a pretty small chimney. I don't know that it would be that dramatic, but, I mean, if you take it out, you're gonna be repairing the roof, you're gonna be doing other stuff that you're gonna have to do, so I don't know that.
I don't know that he talked about removing it completely, just lowering it.
Well, that would be even a worse solution.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know, you qualify for tax abatements on this too. If you were talking about the added expense, I mean, we can save you some money, you know, through the tax abatements. You know, you would qualify for that through the town.
It's what I'm counting on.
Okay. So, anyway, there's an application you have to do to receive the tax credit, but I'm sure the staff could work with you on that. But, so.
Did you
Yes.
need to see this?
Sure, we'll take a look at it if,
Yeah, I mean, does it it
I'd like
just
to
says
see what he's-
appropriate materials, it doesn't,
thank you.
did it not say what the materials were?
It just says tuck and point all of these bad areas with new mortar cement. But, you know, that's what I'm saying is problematic, is that you can't just go and use the mortar that you would use in new construction and put that in an old chimney. That it's too hard and unforgiving to use with that old brick. I mean, I'm right about that, right? I mean,
Yes,
I know
you are
from
correct.
experience, I'm right about that.
Well, I've discussed with him about being in the historic district,
Right.
and I was coming to this meeting, and I think he understands all that. He knows basically what he needs to do.
There's a specific term for that mortar. Do you know the?
Line-based.
Lime-based
Thank you.
mortar. You'd need to tell him it has to be lime-based mortar.
And I also think that, I mean,
Lime-based.
there's a process for doing it too, like, I think,
I think maybe he mentioned lime-based.
and I mean, I think that it's a mistake to just take the old mortar out and then into the dry bricks, put the new mortar. I think you're supposed to wet the bricks so that there is a slower curing process. I mean, there's a real art to doing this correctly, or you've got a mess. So you've got to make sure you've got, and I think Mike Pulis is an expert on this.
If he was coming, then we'd have him.
Oh, he's not coming?
Right.
Oh,
he's
okay,
not.
okay, well.
If you want to add that to your motion, though, that we make sure that we get a sample product of what his contractor is
Yeah.
going to use, then that would be helpful.
Yes, could you have your contractor?
As far as the mortar,
Correct.
Right,
The
the
whole
type of
process,
mortar.
I mean, the wet, no, then you.
not brick, but
Well, you
mortar.
mortar.
don't, you don't need new bricks, you have bricks, right?
Okay.
Just go, go with what you have, I guess. You have any missing bricks?
I would say there's probably some missing bricks. I mean, something fell down my chimney.
Well, so that's another issue too, because you can't put hard modern brick in with this brick because it'll do the same thing. When they expand and contract in the winter and with moisture and that kind of thing, it'll crack out the softer brick around it if you can't just throw a new modern brick in there.
Yeah. So what do?
You have to get an old
You
brick.
go buy old bricks or find them on your gas logs.
Yeah. I mean, you have to get some older bricks
Yeah.
close to it from a salvage place if you can.
He can probably source that for you.
Yeah.
But you might, tell him.
I've got some. Have him call me. I'll give you some if you need
Okay. You got some bricks that'll work,
them.
huh?
All right, I'm sure I do.
But I think we need to make sure that your contractor understands the importance of what we're saying.
Okay.
I mean, even if he's done work for the town, he may not have worked on this particular type of a chimney. I don't know him, but.
I don't know what he did for the town.
Okay.
I'm gonna make a motion that we approve to have the 3 chimneys repaired, with replacing the brick with light brick and using a lime-based mortar. Do I need to add anything to that?
And just to provide us with a sample of the mortar.
But you have all 3 chimneys repaired?
He said that.
Okay, yeah.
Yes, and provide a sample of the type of mortar we want to be using.
Okay. How do I do that?
Just provide it to.
You can just come on
Ms. Rice.
downstairs and bring it into us on the bottom floor. That's where we're
Okay.
located. Yep.
I'll second that motion.
Okay, roll call?
Mr. Owens?
Aye.
Mrs. Hartshorn?
Aye.
And Mr. Geisler?
Aye. All right, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Here's your,
Good luck.
it's a beautiful house.
Yeah.
Thank you.
our next applicant, I have to call her. Has poor health and can't attend the meeting, so I'm going to call her.
Well,
Do you want to start with this one
Yes,
first?
let's go
Okay.
ahead then.
Yeah.
Skip over that one for now.
Okay,
What's
so
that, what
then-
number was that, 4? Go to right to 5?
Yeah, let's see here, hold on a second.
She
So-
was the screen door, and the next one would be a sign.
Yeah, so let's go
request.
forward to the certificate of appropriateness
Okay.
for Dean Bar, 119 Campbell Street.
All right, and I'll just give a brief introduction of this. So Dean Barr is the applicant. He's requesting approval of a certificate of appropriateness for a sign. It's going to be located at 308 Depot Square. He's currently located he's going to be in the old historic train station, but he's currently already got a sign, and it's for his existing business. And so what he's really asking to do, which we were thinking could even be a waiver at first, was to move the sign from where he is to this other location, until we found out that it also has an accompanying pole that's gonna also go with it. So he's asking for a previously approved sign for an existing business that was established in 2001. And the business is called The Gallery at Bar Photographics LLC, and that was located at 152 East Main Street. And so this new sign location at 308, on page 9, you'll see there is going to be a pole, and he wants to put that existing sign. So that sign is currently a little bit larger than the underlying requirements would allow, but at some point in 2001, a group of individuals on this board would have approved that one. So he's asking that the same sign be allowed to be moved to another location in the historic district.
And what
So-
was the issue with the pole? He's gonna put in a new post?
Correct. So, when we looked at one a couple of meetings ago, if you all remember, it was for a men's. And so he wants to do a very similar style
And he's in the
sign to
same
that.
building, kind of, or in the same
He's in the
area?
same building,
Yeah,
correct,
okay.
yep.
Okay.
So-
That's pretty straightforward. I'll make a motion that we approve the moving of the sign.
Did you have anything you wanted to add to that?
Sorry.
Are you you're not gonna keep it the other way?
We wouldn't have done it that way.
Oh, I know, I was on that board, I remember that.
If our partner in retail up there had done like.
Right, I remember all of that. Okay, I'm sorry.
I'll second the motion.
All right, roll call.
All right, Mr. Owens,
Aye.
Mrs. Hartshorn.
Aye.
And Mr. Geisler.
Aye. Well, thank you for your patience.
Yeah, thank you for
Yeah.
being patient and setting through this.
So I can go ahead and.
There you go.
post and put the sign in
Yes,
and
yes,
Let the good times roll?
yes.
go.
It does require a sign permit, so just so you know, you do need to come and get an actual, this was a certificate of appropriateness, which is,
More money.
there you go, that's what we're trying to do.
Thank you.
Thank you all. Y'all have a good evening.
You
Thank
too.
you.
All
And
right,
by the way, come see us when we get open in the train station.
all right,
And let us be your source for custom framing for the town.
all right, we will. Thank you.
Have a great day.
All right, next you're calling, this is
Where is this?
Christine Vittoria.
To place a call in this area, you must dial.
You just never know with these phones. 243. Hi, Christine. You might need to turn off your, if you're watching it on YouTube, you might need to turn that off because you're going to get a little bit of reverberation, plus we're probably a little ahead of the streaming. So we've got you on the line here, and there may not be any questions, but I wanted you to at least be able to hear.
You might need to turn off your, if you're watching it on YouTube, you might need to turn that off.
It's weird to hear your own voice. It always sounds deeper in my head.
I didn't even know it was you.
I'm having trouble. Can you hear me?
We
Yes.
can hear you now. Yep. Thank you.
Okay, good.
Perfect. All right. And we'll just give a little presentation, and then if they have any questions, you'll be available to answer them. I'm not sure that they will, so just stand by. Hopefully you can hear us.
Sure.
All right. So this request is for a storm door. In fact, we've had other storm doors in the past, as you all know, on the visitor center. There's currently no storm door where this is proposed, and So the storm door is on page 6. Let me see if I can pull that up for you all to look at here at home. It's a storm door to be placed on the front door. It's going to be measured 42 inches by 82 inches. The addition of this storm doors will not require the enlargement of the existing opening. The construction of the storm door will consist of a full glass panel with a metal frame, pre-finished in a black color, and have a brass hardware. We have a picture on page 7 that is the existing wooden door that has a glass panel taking up the upper 2/3 of the door. You can kind of see that there's also these metal bars on the door. That is a decorative centerpiece. And then the bottom third of the door is a recessed wooden panel with a sill projecting out towards the street running the length of the bottom of the pan of glass previously mentioned. So all elements of the door, wood frame, metal bars, centerpiece, and hardware are painted black. So I will pull it up online, so if anyone's at home and would like to see it, but if you have any questions, Christine is here on the phone in order to answer them.
So the existing door is going to remain, this is just adding a storm door?
Correct.
Okay.
Is this over, like, near the liquor store down on that end of town,
It's on Wall Street.
on Wall Street?
Yeah.
Mike's Laundry
Going up.
used to-
Mhm.
Yeah, oh, okay. I was
Yeah.
trying to place that house up there, okay.
White Top Yoga.
Yeah,
Oh, it's the house beside of there?
it's the house
Correct.
beside it there.
Yeah, okay, oh, that's a cute house.
Is that the one that, yeah.
And it's a full glass.
that Bethany Johnson
Correct.
Yeah.
I don't have any questions.
No, I'll
No, I
make a
just-
motion to approve and then we can discuss it.
Is there a second?
Second.
Okay, roll call.
Mr. Owens, Mrs. Hartshorn,
Aye.
and Mr. Geisler.
Aye.
Okay, Christine, it got approved.
Thank you so much.
All right, thank you for participating.
Okay. All right, we don't have any public left, so I'm sure there's no public comments.
Ran 'em all.
Old business, 131 East Main Street.
That we just put the COA waivers in for you all. to
Oh, okay,
see
I
that,
got you,
so,
I got it, that's
yeah.
just the waivers.
Yeah.
All right, is there anything further we need to?
So I guess there's two things. One, did you call Bissett today?
Yes, he is good for the 26th.
Okay,
The
so
26th?
if we could meet on the 26th, only because staff doesn't have, that's the only next date between now and the November 3rd that we have available personally. If the 26th would work with you all, we'll go ahead and get Bissett to come in on that day.
Would that be at 5:15?
Yeah. We've got a couple of other cases that have come in that would like to be pushed up. And so we could, Bissett would like to go first, even though that might be a long conversation because he does need to get back to his business. So if you all are willing, it sounds like we may or may not need to see the Kinder ramp again. So we could kind of use that meeting for all these.
Odds and ends,
Right.
loose ends.
Yeah.
would work.
Will it work for you all?
Mhm.
Okay. So we'll schedule a meeting on the 26th. And
Betsy and Peyton.
we'll let Betsy and Peyton know. I'm not sure if Peyton will be back. And then I know that you wanted to have a discussion on solar panels.
Yeah, I
in
just
the-
wanted to open a discussion on
Sure.
it, so that's, yeah.
So, we had the ability to be partnered up for free advice, I guess you would call it, with a program called Soul Smart. They picked like 6 communities in the state of Virginia this last year. And so we worked on a cohort with them, which means we met with them monthly for about 6 months. They reviewed our code. We have no language related to solar panels, or any kind of solar array at all. And so the goal with that was just basically to add language to allow solar panels in the town of Abington. In the past, we just really haven't had a lot of promotion of them. There hasn't been, basically, if you don't have an allowed use, it's considered that you're not allowed to do it. So we're wanting to add language to the code that allows solar panels, and I think one of the things that specifically came from that discussion at the Historic Preservation Day was that, they're not appropriate on historic buildings where you can see them. So our idea from a staff standpoint was to not disallow them in the historic district, but have them as a special use permit, so that they would have to go through an additional level of review to ensure that they were on a building that you couldn't see. You know, if somebody wanted to put it, it would need to be not visible from a public right of way. It couldn't be on a contributing structure. It couldn't pierce the roof. You know, a lot of other requirements. That's about as far as we've gone. And so.
Well, I do feel like
I'm
this
open-
did come up before you here when
Mhm.
that house behind me, Hazel, was that his house?
Mhm.
She wanted to put solar panels on their roof and we turned her down. So we did, it has come up
Mhm.
once that I'm aware of,
Mhm.
but I think we were pretty much in agreement that we really didn't think it belonged in the historic district. And then when we were at that historic preservation day, we realized that unless we figured something out now, we were gonna be blindsided by the first person that came in here
And wanted it.
and wanted it, and we didn't
Yeah.
have any, I mean, we were able to not do hers because of the visibility. I'm pretty sure Byron, isn't that what we
Mhm.
told her, that, because hers were very visible in her house.
Correct. Yeah, and
So, I mean, I guess to have a solar panel, you need to have sunlight available on your house. I mean, you know, I
Mhm.
feel like they are gonna be visible, and I think it would really be a shame. It would really be distracting.
what do you say for a non-contributing structure? Like, let's say you had a non-contributing structure with a flat roof, and they wanted solar panels and you wouldn't see them.
I'm
What
really,
would you
I'm
think?
really kind of confused about what constitutes a contributing versus a non-contributing structure. Is that just a personal opinion? Or is that, do we have a list of things that we consider either one of those?
Yeah, we do have a list of structures, which would be part of what Mike Pulis was gonna talk to us about rewriting our nomination. So we do have that list of structures. And that was just done in 2019, I wanna
Okay.
say. 2019 is when they did a new survey. So we do have that list. I guess, and I'll playing devil's advocate just to have you all
Right.
discuss it, but it seems like if it was not visible and on something that was not historic, you would think that it would promote sustainability, but.
If it's truly not visible, then that's one issue. I'm having a hard time, like Chrissy says, seeing where we're gonna actually have a situation where you're gonna be putting solar panels on what's gonna have to be the roof of a house that's gonna be facing south, the way the town of Abington is configured, and those and it's gonna be on a non-contributing structure that's not visible. I mean,
Okay.
maybe there's 3 houses like that somewhere, I don't know. Non-contributing structures are like brick ranch houses from the 50s or 60s, that kind of
Mhm.
thing. They have fairly low not flat roofs, but low roofs. And quite a few of those are on Valley Street. And the only place you could put solar panels would be on the front, which would really make then a non-conforming structure really stand out in the middle of the historic
Mhm.
district. So I think that would be a problem. In concept, I don't have a problem with the idea of putting them on non-contributing structures that are not visible. I just have a hard time
Mhm.
figuring out where that is.
Yeah, and I think something like where Rendezvous is, if he wanted to put them along the top of that building,
Right,
that would
something
be
like that
something
would
like
be-
that.
But then, do we have any concerns over what it does to the roof? Attaching something like that to your
Well, I don't really
roof?
think that's within our,
Okay.
that's, we
That'd be
don't.
on them.
That'd be on them.
Okay.
Although we do get into it with bricks,
Yeah.
but that's because I see what you're saying.
That's because you're putting a
Right.
permanent structure
Right.
now, you're changing the appearance of the house. Whether you can see it or not, you're changing the profile.
Yeah, and I guess in my mind, like, let's say that 158, sorry, I didn't mean, but that 158 where they're putting another story on the top of that little insurance.
Yeah.
Right.
So would you be opposed to solar panels on the top of that? So kind of trying to make sure that
Right,
we
I
don't just
guess-
eliminate them if there are options, but again, I'm playing devil's advocate here, so.
Well, that's gonna be very visible then from the alley behind there, so it's not gonna be.
And we need to make sure that they're not going in someone's yard, right? We don't have control over what they put in their yards?
That's a separate question, so.
Well, we
we'll
do
talk
have
about-
control
yeah.
because we can control structures, and I'm
Yes.
sure,
Okay.
and I'm sure
Then it's
solar
defined
panels
as a
be considered
structure.
as a structure.
Okay.
The one building that that could be, solar panels that you probably wouldn't see, except for on the rooftop bar, is across the street, the Bundy's out there. I mean, where all their HVAC units and stuff are on top of it, you cannot see any of that from the street level.
Which building?
For us, sir?
Used to be the old,
Yeah.
Elliott building, I think. Where, yeah, where.
Above for us, on the top of those lofts.
Yeah.
But you know, now,
But you can
that's
see-
highly visible from,
Yeah,
the whole town's gonna see it.
Yeah.
But it's not the public right of way. That is the
Right.
choice of a patron to go to that fourth floor.
Well, I know, but I think the big picture is our number one objective, our goal, our important significance that we play, that it is not sustainability, it is historic preservation.
Yeah.
And I think that's what we're here to do. And I think that's every bit as important a function as sustainability. And I think things like solar panels dramatically affect our important function. And so that's why I have such a strong view about it.
And we're really basically talking about two streets in this, like it's really important to preserve what we have. But I don't know if I sound like a dinosaur by saying that.
No, this is a good discussion because it just is what we need to know is if you're not interested in it, then we write it so that they're not allowed in the historic district.
I would
It's
like to
just a
write
Who's
question.
this that you're meeting with? Is this someone that sells and
That
installs
sells
solar
them?
panels?
Oh, no, this is through the University of, University of Virginia. They basically, it's called Soul Smart. It's a program that they roll out and we entered it not for historic preservation purposes, just for
Just for
solar.
the town in general.
Correct, yep, yep.
My question is, obviously, we're not the first historic district to be dealing with this.
Mhm.
What has bigger, like Charleston?
Well, that's what happened,
Savannah?
we heard at that
Yeah.
historic
Richmond doesn't
preservation
even,
Yeah.
they have the staff basically rubber stamp it. They don't
Yeah.
even come before the.
But other
They
places,
allow
like
it. Yes.
Williamsburg doesn't allow them at all, so, I mean, there's other places that don't, so it's just a
Yeah,
matter of
I-
making sure that our
I mean, I'd
code-
like to go on record saying that I do not want them.
Okay,
I don't want them.
I don't want.
okay. Well, there's your discussion.
Okay.
There's your vote, your unofficial vote.
So, get me up to speed now, so the town is going to write a new code to allow,
We're-
except for an historic, so
Yeah.
we can specify except
Yeah.
excluding the historic
Mhm.
district.
I mean, we just wanted to, after fire, we were sitting at that meeting, we thought, we haven't really addressed this other than that one issue that came up, and
Mhm.
it could come up in a way that we are not gonna be able to get out of, unless we have a guideline.
So we're not gonna have a guideline, we're gonna have a zero tolerance
Zero.
policy.
And that needs to
That
be,
would
Yeah.
be my profession.
Yeah, so
I mean,
whether.
I mean, I wouldn't be opposed to it, to them, I mean, if there is such a situation, I just don't think there is really that situation.
yeah, when you're
so
saying
it
that's
exists right
basically
now.
two houses or two buildings in
I
this
just
town,
don't
that would even
think-
apply to.
Now with rooftop bars, and I mean, everything's gonna be seen from the public, so.
I think if.
Especially when the leaves are
If we
down.
allow it to be on devil's advocate as far as
Mhm.
on non-contributing structures or out of public view, we're gonna have all these people coming in, this is not a non-contributing structure, this is not in public view, which actually it is.
Right.
And we're having to fight with that all the time now.
I think
with
it's
some of these-
easier just to, yeah.
It's just like cut it off before
Right.
it gets.
Perfect.
Thank you.
Uh,
There's a discussion.
one other discussion point maybe, since we were gonna stay later, so I've got you guys trapped a little. We're having a second issue, and we've kind of gone back and forth. So originally, the Planning Commission had suggested that every single accessory structure go through a special use permit process, which would mean that accessory structure in the old and historic district would not only go through you, but would go through Planning Commission and Town Council. Town Council said no, that's not necessary. So then we took it back and said, what if the historic HPRB reviewed all accessory structures in the historic district? So even if they weren't visible, but just all of them, because we do find, like, Derek Webb's project was
Yeah.
one where we said, could you come back with it? Even he just was like, sure, but it's maybe not gonna be visible. So took that through a town council discussion, and they were not they were not in favor of that. Basically, based on our town council advice, it was, if you can't see it, it shouldn't go through the HPRB review process. So we had a discussion about what is happening, and I don't know how many of you have gone down Plum Alley, but essentially there is a backyard design that includes a fountain and an outdoor kitchen and all of these things. Fully not visible when it first was proposed. Bushes, hedges around the whole entire thing. Now, they've torn out all of the bushes and it's fully visible, but, you know, they're halfway through it, so even if they came to you, you know, at this point it would be, okay, you'd have to make a decision to force them to basically tear their entire patio, kitchen, all of that out, if you chose to. So, we're suggesting in the code to say that the HPRB will not review items that are screened from the public right-of-way permanently. So requiring a permanent screening. So if it was behind a fence, behind a wall, behind something of that nature, but if you are coming to us and saying, well, it's screened by bushes that could come and go, then we're not gonna accept that as permanent screening.
But do we have fence guidelines then that we have to?
There are fence guidelines, yes.
They have to match those guidelines.
So is this, this is a proposed change to the guidelines?
It is a proposed change because right now, if somebody came to us, like, and I'm using Derek Webb's project just because it's one of the ones that were sort of complex. You know how there's that whole row of hydrangeas right next to it, so you really can't see the backyard. But let's just say that whole row of
There's a
hydrangeas.
blight in all the bushes.
Yeah, they all go away, and now you're going to be able to see structures, maybe the addition in the backyard, those types of things. So by not, and so right now you all wouldn't, and you didn't review, you know, he was gracious enough to show you what he was doing, but you didn't have any ability to review his addition. It just, you know, becomes very difficult for staff to, you know, try to implement and say, okay, this was approved, and then someone takes out all the bushes, and now we're kind of fighting to go back and say, well, you got to come into them now that we can see it.
Well,
And
our
so-
guidelines already, already our guidelines use that term visible from the public.
Mhm.
But that in the existing guideline is, you know, a term that's subject to interpretation.
Mhm.
So we have apparently been interpreting that
Mhm.
to say that if you can't see it from the public because of existing landscaping, then we
Correct.
don't do it. But there's no
Correct.
reason we have to take that
Yeah.
interpretation of our existing guideline. We could
Correct.
just interpret it to mean unless it is permanently
Mhm.
Can we say like a
screened,
non-organic structure or
Yeah,
something
and
like
we
that?
definitely, and it's gonna be
Yeah.
probably like 2 words that we would be adding to
Right,
the
like
zoning
if you added
code.
non-organic,
Correct.
that would do it, right?
Exactly.
Well, I think permanent would be a
Permanent
better-
would be great, but I'm just
Yeah.
saying that we know that it's not like you're saying, well, this tree's gonna live for 150
Right.
years.
We can be very specific too about, you know, landscaping does not indicate
Okay, yeah,
permanent,
add
yeah,
that little
yeah.
conversation.
So I just wanted to get your read on it.
Oh, I think that's
and-
what
I
we
think
should do
that's-
for
Okay.
sure.
I agree.
Okay. All right.
Anything else?
We'll invite Mike Pulis back.
Yes.
Hopefully for December 7th, or into January, I guess, depending on when
Well,
he
then we
can.
lose Mike, this Mike.
Yeah.
Okay, is there anything else we need to consider? If not, is there a motion to adjourn?
I so move.
Second?
I mean, yes.
Roll-
Second.
Roll call?
Mr. Owens.
Aye.
Mrs. Hartshorn.
Aye.
And Mr. Geisler.
Aye. All right.
Thank
adjourned.
you.